There is nothing like the fret of ending up in a wheelchair to make you turn around and do something different with your life. Alright legends, welcome along to this little video here. I want to share with you guys about my journey and coming off painkillers. I was just saying it to a friend on Friday, it costs absolutely nothing in life to encourage someone, and hopefully this video will do someone a little bit of good out there. So let's go back. I am 44 years old at the moment. Yes, no longer a spring chicken, but I think I'm looking good for my age. But going back, let's say 17 years or so ago, early 20s to mid 20s, I was always in the workplace. When you're built like me, big guy, especially back then, was always a chubby child growing up, a bit of weight behind me and fairly strong. And whenever you get into the work environment, especially in factories, like the sort of stuff I've been working on, and even prior to that in retail, I was doing a lot of stuff where I was working in stores, you know, shifting pallets about, you know, doing this, that and the other. And in my current workplace at the moment, I've been there for far too long at this point, and it was all strong armed stuff in there as well. Pallet trucks, all that sort of stuff, moving heavy stuff. That's just, I don't want to go into too much detail about where I work, but a lot of heavy work. And you know, through my mid-20s, I could feel this niggling pain at the base of the back, and it was gradually getting worse and worse, and I kept going and I kept going, and a little bit of sick time here and there of this back injury, always thinking that it was muscular, and it probably was at the beginning, but as I say, heavy work. So I kept going back to work, back into the same stuff again, and eventually this pain just got beyond bearable, and went to my doctor, and of course they put me on this medication, and it was almost as if each time I went, it was almost as if, you know, they want to get you in and out of the surgery as quick as they can, and they were just kind of throwing more prescriptions at me, and you know, I would work again, be off in the sick. This became more of a regular thing for me. This back injury would keep happening, would keep going back to the doctor, would keep getting new prescriptions, and higher dosages each time. And you know, looking back on it now, it was utter madness. I should have just took the time, stayed off work, even if I lost that job, and recovered properly from it. Because when you are loaded up with painkillers and you hurt yourself again, you're doing it through this veil of painkilling. It's like your body is not feeling, like you're not fixing anything. You're just masking the problem with the painkillers. And if you hurt yourself again through that, like if you're on a high medication and you're feeling the injury again, you're doing yourself a heck of a lot more damage. Now, when it came to getting the MRI over here, it took, wow, probably, it was multiple years anyway. It was like 3 years on the waiting list before I got the MRI scan to find out exactly what was going on. And when I did eventually find out what it was, through all the heavy lifting and whatnot throughout the years, I actually managed to shave a chunk out of a disc on the base of my back. So like all the bending and lifting up and whatnot. However it happened, I don't know, but you know, like there's a chunk of the bone missing essentially, and where it's missing at is in one of the discs just at the base of the spine, but it's to the front of the spine. So technically, I'm sitting in this computer chair now, recording this video. Technically, right now, I'm doing my back, no help whatsoever, by sitting down. It's one of these things where, imagine the discs in your back. You have a disc, you've got like a little fluid pack under the disc. Then below that you have the other disc, and it's a continuing thing down there. So whenever this chunk of disc was missing, when I sit down, let's just say this is a 2 discs fluid pack in between, it compresses more to the front of me than it should. And because it compresses more than it should at the front of my spine, it kind of squeezes that little fluid pack. I hope you're not eating your dinner. But it squeezes that fluid pack out slightly, and then it catches on it pushes against the sciatic nerve, or at least that's the explanation I was given for it. And yes, it was just time to do something about this. And I worried for a bit, but you know, money doesn't make itself. You have to go to work every day, so I'm still on doing the heavy job. And eventually I went back to the doctor again. Huge pain kicked off one day. For a stage, I basically couldn't drive my car properly for a year and a half whenever I started trying to get off the painkillers, but we'll get to that in a second. What got me to this point where I wanted to get off the painkillers was three things. As I said at the start of the video, there's nothing like the threat of ending up in a wheelchair to get you to pull your head out and do something for the good of your own health. And it was actually, I went back to the doctor again, and there was this guy, this older doctor, retired, was in covering holidays for other doctors. And this is one of these old school doctors that, you know, just took the time to do what needed to be done, and actually just, you know, sit you down, and instead of, you know, like giving you an hour prescription, he would say, right, you need to do something about this. And this is what this guy did. He sat me down, he looked at the chart, and he's like, who put you on this level of medication? And I'm like, it's Dr. such and such. And he says, right, what you need to do, and he told me as well, get off, or at least cut back, and that you shouldn't be in this high of a dosage. And you might not want to hear this, but that injury you have now, if you don't start to lose weight and try and build up your core to protect it, you're looking at a future, definitely a retirement in a wheelchair. Now for someone at this stage, probably mid to late 30s, hearing this takes a wonder right out of your seals. And I was like, what the heck am I going to do here? But the real kicker didn't happen until one weekend where I was just busy throughout the weeks, and I forgot to renew the prescription on the painkillers, and ran out on a Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Friday. It was too late to order a new prescription to get it ready in time. You know, you would have had to wait the following week, Monday, to get it sorted. So I was stuck for the first time in years with no medication for 3.5 days, thereabouts. And by the Saturday, you couldn't have sat in the same room with me. I would have fought with my own shadow. Unreal. Up the walls. It was an absolute disaster. So luckily around that time too, there was a podcast that I was listening to, a Smodcast with Kevin Smith, and he was interviewing Brian Johnson from Comic Book Men. If you know that crowd, they all grew up together. And Brian also had a similar situation where he had been on medication for a knee injury, and he actually ended up having to go to rehab for it. And he was sharing a story, and the stuff that he was coming out with was scarily accurate to the way I was feeling just been on this medication. Now, I wouldn't say I went to the level of being absolutely addicted to them, but there was definitely a high dependency there after that weekend. So that's what kick-started the journey for me there, was to try and cut back, try and get off and start building the core a little bit more, lose a bit of weight. And this went fairly good, other than the weight loss part of the thing. But that year and a half, initially trying to cut down on painkillers and get off them altogether. It was an absolute nightmare. It was a good friend of mine, Jillian, helped me through it, kept me on the right path, kept my spirits up whenever I was trying to get off this here. We'll never want to go through it again. We'll never wish it on the worst enemy that somebody would have to do this. You talk about the sleepless nights, sort of cold sweats and whatnot, absolute disaster. And then I was a lot heavier than I am now. No muscles from the waist up. Great legs, I've got the legs of a rugby player, but I was built like Jabba the Hutt from the waist up, so needed to do something. So there's a guy I was in high school with, Melvin Gibson, who had just started a personal training business literally at the bottom of the town where I live at. So I got signed up to him and started in there. So for about the better part of 3 years now, I'm doing 3 nights a week there, building up the core muscles and whatnot. And right now, I'm doing stuff that back 15 years ago never would have seen myself doing. Looking after my health, not as much weight off me as I would like to have off, but it's a gradual thing for me. Like the amount of stuff that I have done as far as training goes and getting in the shape, getting the weight off and getting the core built up over that 3 year period, I would say just with that back injury there, because it does flare up every once in a while like it always did, though I'm no longer on painkillers. The exercise is really keeping it at bay right now, but what I did in 3 years, probably for most people, they could have done it in like 6 months. You know, it's just, you've got a bad injury they got there, you have to work with it. And that's the key to the whole thing, is to try and work with a situation like this here. Like, just don't be trying to fend it off with medications, and you know, it's a hard journey, a very difficult one that I'm glad I'm on the far side of, and I'm just taking it a day at a time now, keeping up my little bit of exercise. I'm getting better at doing like home exercises now, so I'm doing a little bit every evening if I can, and try and eat a bit better. But as I said too earlier on, it costs absolutely nothing to help someone, encourage them. So if you're in the situation right now where you feel that you are, you know, dependent and probably heading towards an addiction, trust me, it's never too late to start and turn your life right around. For me, I don't know if what I've been doing up to this point is enough to keep me out of a wheelchair in my retirement days, but if it does happen, it won't happen as soon as that doctor thought it might have happened. So fingers crossed that karma stays on my side. Guys, that's going to do it. Hope this video helped someone out there, and I will talk to you in the next one.